What's going on this morning, everybody? How y'all doing? Today, let's have a cup of coffee and talk some guitar stuff. So yesterday, did this video on the Silver Sky versus the Strat, just kind of outlining the differences and the similarities between the guitars. Obviously it's a Strat looking thing, so there's a lot of conversation surrounding it, and of course there's a lot of conversation surrounding that guitar right now. Anyway, uh, and it got me thinking about a couple of things. So, kind of going off of the majority of the comments in that video. Okay, so there was a lot of people in that video saying, "Why don't you just uh, design your own guitar, PRS?" Okay, fair. Why? I would just buy a Strat. Okay, fair. And it's just a Strat copy. It's not that much different. Okay, fair. All fair points. So my question is, why, if that's the case, is Fender worried? Why are they being outsold by the Silver Sky? Because the Silver Sky is actually outselling Strats. And here's the thing. It's not a cheaper alternative. The SE is $949 now. And the American one is $2749, and it doesn't really have a lot of options, just colors, right? You can't get different neck profiles and stuff. So people are choosing it over a Strat that costs the same money if you go from like SE to made in Mexico something or other. Or the super high end, what is that thing? The new one, the new Strat that's like almost $3,000. So they're not choosing it because it's cheaper. They're not choosing a knockoff. They're choosing it intentionally. Like when you spend that much money, you choose that intentionally. It's an interesting thing. So why do we do that? Why is that the case? Why is a guitar that allegedly nobody likes outselling the Strat? Could it be because it's actually better? Could it be because functionally there are things that work better? Could it be that it is actually an evolution of the Strat? Um, you know, I, and the funny thing to me is, I don't treat them as the same guitar. I still want a Strat, even though it's objectively worse. It's not worse because it's the thing. Like I want the real thing, right? So, which is funny because I don't actually have the real thing right now. I need to get one. So that's a weird one. Like instead of saying if you want a Strat, buy a Strat, okay, then do that. Please do that. If you're, I like what Phil McKnight said yesterday. Please don't politicize guitar stuff. Like I know you're mad about Fender right now, but man, it just makes people fight more about stuff. And we're just here to play guitar, right? Like I thought about that a lot. I'm like, yeah, I don't want people to fight about guitars. I want them to play them. So, okay, we're a little upset with Fender right now. In fact, a lot. I am a lot upset with Fender the way they're handling this deal, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to play them anymore. It doesn't mean, be reasonable, right? Like, I get it. Um, it's just an interesting thing about this guitar, this particular guitar, though, because they're definitely competing with Strats. I get it. Um, but why? Right? Because you don't have the Squire comparison. You don't have the American Standard or whatever they call that now, the American Professional um, comparison. You don't have the Custom Shop comparison. You don't have the Relic comparison. You don't have all those comparisons. Um, but as a solution, as a good guitar, uh, it works. It works. It's a great instrument. And I think this is one of the reasons why I always say don't compare them. Don't. I think people in our culture, in our guitar culture, in our community, want to compare everything. Like, yeah, but how is this in comparison to that? Why do we do that? I don't understand why we do that. Yeah, I mean, I get it if like you can only afford one and you're trying to make a good decision. That makes sense. But the people in this price point and in these brands that we're talking about typically are not a one guitar person. Typically, they are adding to a collection. Typically, they have more than one, especially in these price points. Let's make sure that we understand that. So we're not talking about a $300 guitar here. We're talking about a $900 guitar. So it's a different bracket of things, and so in the $300 to $500 range, I can see that. I can see where you're trying to make the best decision because this is all you have. Okay, that makes total sense. But when you're adding to a collection, when you're making a bigger purchase like this, um, chances are it's an addition. Why do we have to compare everything? Why does everything have to be this versus that? Like, is it good? Do I like it? Do I enjoy it? Yes. Then it's a good purchase decision for you. Anytime a guitar is something that you don't feel you want for whatever reason, it could be cost, it could be where it's made, it could be the quality of it, it could be whatever. It's not a good purchase for you, but that doesn't mean it's not a good purchase for me, right? Like, we're all different. So, uh, you know, you have to give it to PRS. The setup consistencies are great. The, the guitars are amazing. They're absolutely excellent. And it's selling a particular experience, right? Which is not vintage Strat. It is selling evolution of Strat, and that is genuinely what it's doing, and it does it very well. So, do you want a Strat or do you want an evolution of a Strat? It seems that a lot of people want evolution. So this brings me to my other point about this is the contradiction of all of us. We constantly say, why can't they just make original shapes? But out of the other corner of our mouth, we're just saying, I'm just going to buy a Strat anyway. When somebody buys an original shape, Phil McKnight made an excellent point about this last night on his podcast. He collects dead guitars. He collects guitars that were supposed to be these original, super innovative things that didn't last very long. Why? Because we buy Strats, Tellys, and Les Pauls. So, how do you? It's a genuine question that we need to think about as guitar consumers and guitar enthusiasts and artists. How do we balance, or how do we back up our statement, I want innovation, and then how does legally, or how, I don't care, that's not my business, but how does a guitar brand say, I'm going to change it a little and innovate on it a little, not get in trouble, but at the same time keep the consumer happy? Because here's what needs to happen. The guitar needs to be relatively familiar to the buyer, but a little bit different. You'll find oftentimes that if you change one or two things from a familiar design, it's okay. If you change three or four, it's too much. Like, a consumer cannot handle it. It needs to be probably 85% familiar and only 15% different. You know what I mean? Like, that needs to happen. And what I find, in my, because I'm outside of the main brands, of course I'm an aftermarket company, and I furnish small builders with parts. What I find is there are some small builders that are very good at marketing themselves with these little neat ideas. Texas Toast is a great example of that. I bring them up all the time. He's a friend of mine, and their stuff is just really good. There's guitar builders, and then there's guitar builders, and they are a premium guitar builder. They are a premier guitar builder that should be selling hundreds and hundreds of guitars a year. They're incredible. What they've done with their Challenger design is a familiar guitar shape, but changed it, and it's very good. It's very comfortable. It's very balanced. It looks nice. It's, you know what I mean. But it took them 10 years to get that right. And the other thing that we find from our side is that no matter what we do, like for example, we've got the white pickups going this month, and on Monday we're going to change it. We're going to do a different color. Those are not our hottest sellers. People don't like, even, you know, it's cream, black, and white. That's all they care about. They don't want anything cool. Now, we at Dylan Talks Tone, we do very well because we do all that weird stuff and all those neat colors and everything. Um, and, you know, alternative colors and various custom stuff, because there's not very many people that do it, and we kind of lean on it and that kind of thing. But you're not going to find, this is why you don't find fancy colors and crazy combinations and pearls and swirls and sparkles and whatever in common places like Sweetwater or Musician's Friend or whatever, is because the majority of people don't want it. They want black, white, and cream. Uh, so it's just a weird paradox situation, because we have the most popular Strat style guitar right now is not a Strat, that somehow everyone hates. Not really sure why, because everyone's buying it, because it's evolved, because it's not a Strat, but it is. Um, it's a weird paradox, and I would like to hear from you. Like, where does that put us? Where does that put you? You know, this is not coming from a place of, uh, you know, angry at Fender, angry at PRS. I hate this. I hate that. This is like, where are we? Because it puts us in a weird place. It puts us in a weird place as uh, guitar viewers. So here's my question. Here, I have a couple questions for you. If you bought a Silver Sky, why did you buy it? Okay. If you purchased a Strat and decided you don't want a Silver Sky, why did you buy it? And I don't want to just hear because the peg head is ugly. Let's have a real conversation about it. I understand that a lot of people don't like the peg head. I get that. But the reason they don't like the peg head is not because of that. It's because it's on a Strat style body, right? It looks fine on every other guitar, but for some reason, so that's a mental thing. That's not, you understand what I'm saying? So let's put that one aside. Um, at what point does a competitor stop becoming a copy and become its own thing? Because there's also Schecter, there's also Charvel, who's owned by Fender now, but there's lots of other brands who've done this and kind of become their own thing and their own identities based on modding off of Fenders. So it's just an interesting thing. Is being the original thing actually important? I'm going to answer for myself. Yes. I want the real thing. I always say that. I want the real thing. But once I have the real thing, I want to explore other things too. So it's you know, it's a very interesting thing. Um, Maybe this whole conversation is not about PRS and Fender. Maybe it's about us and where we put our dollars and what we actually like, and our ability to articulate and put into action our thoughts instead of just in comment sections. Um, I don't know. I really, this is literally like, it's just been running around in my head since yesterday and since watching Phil McKnight's thing, um, and making that video yesterday. Like, it's a paradox. The entire thing, um, it's a paradox.